One issue that we see that happens when we apply a data set that makes up an Excel table, we apply a table format. That is, we give it a joint format. We saw that in the headers row it indicated a number of elements that go beyond what is the table format itself. In fact, we can obtain this effect if we go directly to the data menu. The data menu is going to make it so we can treat the whole content of these cells, which are located together, but which have a number of characteristics in common that make it so we can treat it like a table. In fact, here, when we say filter, what it does is it detects precisely those data that form part of a table, and in the header row it gives us the possibility of filtering by each one of these fields. The columns, when a square of data, a data range, we transform it into a table, each one of the rows will be called a registry. And each of the columns will be called a field. So here it allows us to filter by fields. For example, we could filter very easily. We are going to the column group where we want the people to be distributed in Group A, Group B and Group C. We see that when we hit the filter button it has added, we see that a drop-down menu opens which indicates the options that there are for all of the rows, all of the registries of this table, which are 3. They are A, B and C, and we have them all selected. We could remove this selection of them all, meaning we would see no element of the table, or we can tell it that we only want to see those that belong to Group A. When we hit accept, we see that this table, which did have 21 rows, it has converted it into a table that still has all of the rows within Excel, but only certain rows are displayed. Rows 4, 6, 7, 10, 18, etc. That is, the rows that correspond to registries of the people who match the filter that I applied, which is that they belong to Group A. We see that, when we have a filtered table, we see that the numbers of the row appear in blue to indicate that what we are looking at is not a continuous account but rather is one that skips rows. That there are hidden rows. In order to easily know which filter is being applied, because I could filter by any of the headers, it changed the icon and tells us that it is filtering, that group is equal to A. In the same way we have said A, we could say B, or those of A and those of B. In this case we see that we don't have all the registries either. We only have those that belong to either of these two groups. Finally, we should indicate that we could combine filters. That is, select all those that belong to Group A and that study the specialty chemistry. In this case, we only have these 3 people, independently of whether there are more people that study this specialty chemistry in another group, or that is in another group or other specialty. This is why we see that here we have 2 active filters. Now we say here that we will select all students, so we have already filtered for only those who have the specialty chemistry in any of the groups, and finally to go back to get the full table, what we have to do is tell it is that here, also, we select all in the other filter we have enabled. And we regain the original table with all the elements in view, since none of the filters is, at this moment, selecting one set or other of data.